Hello, church. I'm Pastor Mike, one of the pastors at Fellowship Church, bringing you today's devotion. I've got some requests for some more outdoor devotions, kind of my adventures, and so I thought I'd take you along today, hiking through Bogart Park. It's just a beautiful place to come for a short hike, or if you want to hike for a long time. There's a lot of trails here, and just to enjoy God's beauty, a nice local place. So thanks for joining me today, and let's talk a little bit about Jesus and his goodness in our lives. So when I was about 9 years old, we went on a trip to the desert, to a place called Glamis. And Glamis is it's a place known for kind of riding dirt bikes and quads and sand rails, and it's just this huge, vast sand area filled with dunes and not very much vegetation. It's just this big desert. And when I was about 9 years old, I went there with my dad. I'd never been there before. We arrived and it was nighttime, and I asked if I could kind of putt around on my quad around the camp as they set camp up, and my dad said, "Sure, that'd be fine, son." And so I took off on my quad and kind of putted around, and I turned around to head back towards the camp, and I rode for the distance that I thought that I would be riding for to get back to camp, and there was no camp. And I wandered around some more on my quad, and eventually my quad stalled out, and I was a 9-year-old kid in the middle of the desert on a quad at night, and I didn't know where I was, and I was afraid, and I began to pray and ask that God would somehow rescue me and save me, and I began to cry out for help. And to make a long story short, because a lot of things happened, I was found by a gentleman sort of there in the middle of the desert, kind of wondering, what's this kid doing? And he was a nice guy by the grace of God, and he helped me find my way back to my camp. And God was gracious to me that night. Some terrible things could have happened, but they didn't. God was gracious to me. God was gracious to my dad. And in that moment, in that time, God used that opportunity to build my faith in a difficult situation. God was taking care of me and leading kind of me and finding safety. And I was very thankful, and he was kind to my dad, and the fact that, that happened. And through that trial, my faith was built. And sometimes God allows us to go through trials to build our faith. But there's other times that God may allow you to go through a trial, and by you going through that trial faithfully, you build the faith of others, or the faith around you. And there's a story that I recently preached for the youth in Daniel chapter 3, and it's the story of 3 guys named Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 guys were charged by King Nebuchadnezzar to bow down and worship this giant statue that he had made out of gold, and they refused to do so. And they said, "You know what, King, we're not going to do that. We're not going to bow down to your statue. We worship God. We worship Yahweh." And the king said, "Well, if you don't bow down to this statue, then I'm going to burn you alive. I'm going to throw you into a fiery furnace." And they say, "Be that as it may, King, we're not going to do that. We're going to worship God only." And Nebuchadnezzar, the king, he gets so furious that he has the furnace heated 7 times hotter than it's ever been heated before. So hot that the guys who throw Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego into this fiery furnace die from the heat just by getting close to it. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, knowing that God would deliver them either through death and they'd be with heaven in him with him forever, or through some miracle, they had faith in God. And they're thrown in, and if you know the story, the king is astounded, because he says, "Didn't we throw 3 robed men bound into the furnace? And when I look, I see 4 unbound men walking in the midst of the flames." And he says, "And the 4th looks like one of the sons of the gods." And Nebuchadnezzar calls out, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, come out of that furnace. Come talk to me. And through that, he realizes and makes a profession that their God, the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, is the God of gods, the greatest of all gods. And he was one step closer to faith in Yahweh God through the way that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego handled their trial. And so you may be going through some kind of a situation right now and may be wondering, why is God allowing me to go through this? What plan could God possibly have for my life? I have strong faith. I believe in God. I don't understand how I'm going to grow in this. And maybe you don't see how you're going to grow through that trial. Maybe it's not like me when I was a kid and God's strengthening your faith. Maybe it's more like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Maybe God is strengthening or building faith in someone who is close to you or somebody who's watching you that you don't even realize is watching what you're doing. And so my encouragement to you today is to reflect on your life and think about the times that God has been faithful in your life. Think about the times that God has done a miraculous work in your life that built your faith and was something that was formidable in your spiritual journey. And if you would, maybe, I don't know, share it in the comments below here. If you're watching this on Facebook, you can put it in the comments below and share it and encourage us with that. And also, if you're going through a trial right now, consider how God might be building you through this trial, or consider how God might be building others around you in the way that you walk through the trial, empowered by Jesus and walking faithfully with God in a glorifying way. And so I hope that that's encouraging to you guys today. I hope you enjoyed our walk here through Bogart Park. And I hope to see you on Sunday. We can worship together and just glorify our King. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.